Ring the bell, Van Eck, whoever you are, or bing, ding, ding, ding. Okay, Wall Street closed. Broad and Wall in New York City, they're closed. New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ closed. Here's the thing, here are the final numbers. Dow up, decent amount, 150 or so, plus or minus. S&P up 16, NASDAQ up 50. About a very, very quiet day, and I'm going to tell you this for a reason. In about 15 or 20 minutes, Nvidia, the highest market value stock in the country, company, the biggest market share. It's all about AI. Nvidia makes chips for AI. Nvidia will report earnings. It will move the market. I told you this last week about Thursday or Friday, the employment number, the whatever number it was. This one, Nvidia will move the market. We'll get to you, tell you all about that in just a minute. Jump over here. There's gold. Gold held its own, 15. Oil up 66 cents. Again, we want to see that lower. Mixed on the crypto world, Bitcoin was up about $1,000 a Bitcoin. Ethereum just off a touch, not much at all. And XRP having a rough go, guys. Having a rough go, $3.01. I'm going to talk about Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel is going through some really interesting stuff. And it's a corporate thing and all that, but there's the original on the left side of your screen, the original Cracker Barrel logo, old country store, that old timer over there leaning against the pickled barrel, and that Cracker Barrel logo is put on a lima bean or a bean. It used to be a dish they served at Cracker Barrel. They changed it this year. It went crazy a couple of weeks ago. Stock got crushed. And we're going to talk all about that towards the end of the show, because it's a very interesting story how it all turned out today. Very, very big comeback by the Cracker Barrel folks. In the meantime, let's talk. We just had a couple of minutes ago, I had the very, very good fortune to sit down with Harmeet Dhillon, the Assistant Attorney General of the United States, and it's very, very fascinating watch. All right, our first guest is the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights at the U.S. Department of Justice. She's working to dismantle racial discrimination and restore merit-based opportunities per President Trump's executive order. Really happy to have Harmeet Dhillon back with us. Harmeet, very, very important day. This Minnesota Catholic church and school. I mean, this crazy person shot up the church while little kids were praying, and as the information is coming in, I watched this 11-minute manifesto. It's wildly disturbing, allegedly, if we believe it's the same person. Can you just take us through why you think, speculate with us, Minnesota, there's so much this guy is a trans, this guy identifies as a trans, so much pro-trans, gender fluidity. Tim Walz said he is friends with mass shooters. Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota, says he's looking for more gender fluidity care for children in schools. What the hell is going on in Minnesota, if you know?
Well, so Minnesota has so many problems, and I have multiple open investigations into Minnesota, including on this issue. We sent Minnesota some correspondence regarding its forcing girls into private spaces with boys and letting boys take girls' trophies, and they sued us preemptively in the Trump administration to try to get us to back off on that. So they're going to court to defend the right to deny girls their fundamental civil rights under the law. So we're not backing down from that. We also have found that the largest county there where the shooting took place, Hennepin County, has race-based a plea agreement policy, and we are investigating that, where they basically will give a more favorable plea agreement to a person of color than to a white person. That is blatantly illegal under our laws. There's other stuff I can't even talk about yet because we haven't publicly announced it. But what you're seeing in the situation of attacking children and attacking a house of worship and attacking people of faith is a national problem. And we have so far in this administration gone after people who've come to attack several churches and other houses of worship. This is a growing problem in our country, along with the trans issue, because both of them, in my opinion, this hostility to faith and hostility to science and truth and the true sex of people they're different forms of Marxism and nihilism. They're really trying to destroy society, destroy fundamental beliefs, and then rebuild people in a godless way. And that is a huge problem, particularly in a country established by people of faith and in which the First Amendment protects the rights of people of faith. And so this is a shooting, but you've seen governors attack faith during COVID, punish people of faith trying to come together and pray together. In my home state of California, Gavin Newsom had a law that prevented people coming together for Bible study in their own private homes. I went to court and won that case at the United States Supreme Court through our nonprofit. And now today I'm doing this job in the Department of Justice. And so I'm happy to say this is the most pro-faith and activist Department of Justice Civil Rights Division in history. And we're just getting started. This type of thing is discouraging, but I hope everyone of faith looking at this redoubles their commitment to God, because we cannot stand against evil and just let this happen to little children, innocent children in our country.
Now, if you listen to that manifesto, again, more than 11 minutes, I did, and I assume it's the same person, Robin, this person, this is a man, but changed his gender to a woman. There, right, you're showing the picture, Robin Westman. In the state of Minnesota, I will just take it one step further. The thing that jumps out to me right away, Tampon Tim Walz got the nickname because the governor of Minnesota forced public schools to have tampons in boys' locker rooms, so hence Tampon Tim, forcing the gender fluidity issue. And then we have Keith Ellison, the Attorney General, former Congressman Keith Ellison, Attorney General of Minnesota, saying things like this. If you can roll the soundbite, guys.
Dude 44 times, and we'll sue him 44 more and 44 more after that. And we have sued him for gender affirming care. Yes, we are not going to scapegoat our transgender community. And we have sued him to stand up for medical research, National Institute.
Keith Ellison, the Attorney General, and Tampon Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, not scapegoat, will they hold the transgender community at least somewhat accountable, because this was one of theirs that perpetrated this so far horrific crime?
Yeah, look, I mean, one of the factors that is not getting discussed is that pumping a child full of drugs that purport to change their gender identity has numerous side effects. It has permanent side effects. I have represented 4 young people who had this done to them, lied to and manipulated by adults. They're permanently crippled in many ways. And so in this case, it's led to a shooting. But, years ago, I represented journalist Andy Ngo, who was attacked by a bunch of Antifa thugs in Portland, Oregon. Many of them are trans. They were young, disaffected people in their early 20s who were lied to by adults, pumped full of drugs, and those drugs have side effects. And so when are we going to confront the side effects of that? But ultimately, this person committed a crime. We're going to be investigating that in the Department of Justice. FBI agents are on the ground. I'm already in touch with law enforcement over there. United States Department of Justice is going to get to the bottom of what happened here. And adults need to be held accountable for what they did. Of course, politicians are immediately running to the cameras and talking about guns and banning guns. Minnesota has a lot of big problems. They should all go look in the mirror before they run to the cameras.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if there's a pattern here. You have states like Minnesota who have this huge outpouring protecting the trans folks, and then things like this happen, and you just don't hear it. I was watching CNN briefly, and one of the anchors, a couple of the anchors, there was one on MSNBC pointing a finger at Trump for this already, saying that, how long is it between when the bodies are still laying there bleeding and the left wants to start to blame guns, and I'm hoping this doesn't move the needle with the Department of Justice on where we are with guns, because these targets are soft targets. The reason why they are targets is because they're soft targets. There are no lethal defenses against things like this. Your thoughts?
Well, look, the United States Department of Justice is actually very committed to Second Amendment rights. It's a passion of mine. I'm a gun owner. And, so you'll be seeing some announcements about that going forward. The answer to trans people and atheists and haters of Trump shooting and killing children is not to ban guns. There are many other answers to that question and that problem. And, these convenient sound bites and bumper sticker slogans are not the answer. And so, look, Minnesota taxpayers, guess what? Your attorney general is going to court to prevent girls from getting trophies. That is what's happening in Minnesota. And we're not standing for it in this Department of Justice. And we are not going to give up the fight on protecting people of faith. We have literally filed so many lawsuits and open investigations, more than I think entire, 4-year administrations have done in just 3 or 4 months. And so I want to share that with everybody here that, you have a friend in this president and this Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and this Department of Justice. We are deeply committed to protecting all of the people involved here.
Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dhillon is with us. Harmeet, there's I believe in this. There's a growing feeling that we should have at least one armed person at all of our schools. There are about 110,000 schools between K through 12 schools in this country, right? Trump's he's sending troops to places like D.C. and Chicago where crime is elevated. What about the thought of putting an armed federal person, I don't know, man, woman, National Guard, whomever, at every one of our schools and harden those targets?
Well, so first of all, Keith Ellison and Tim Walz and, these other goofballs, they all have security, and the children in their state don't. I do think that policing generally under our constitutional scheme is a matter of state law. So I think the taxpayers in Minnesota need to step up and pass some laws and elect some lawmakers who will protect their children. And I think that's really needs to be done. But the federal government is not the answer to all the problems. We have separation of powers. We have the 10th Amendment, and so we can't be the cops for everybody where there's a lack of law enforcement by the states. In fact, we're suing states that are refusing to provide equal protection to their citizens by law enforcement. And so I think people in Minnesota need to stand up and wake up and smell the coffee and see that they're being lied to by their politicians, led by demagogues, and it is getting less safe there every day.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just thinking in terms of, you look at Chicago, it says J.D. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, says, no, we don't want any National Guards here. We see Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, saying, no, we don't want Trump's National Guards. Meanwhile, crime is rampant. I came from Chicago. I call it Chirac now because it's probably similar to Iraq in the war zone days. And so Trump is saying maybe it's time to put some National Guard and some troops out. My point was, maybe we don't listen to the state. Again, this is tough. I probably shouldn't even say this because I'm a states' rights kind of guy. I love the federalism. I love the republic idea. But wow, when we see little babies being carried out on gurneys and little babies being held by their fathers, sometimes you just got to step it up, I guess. Harmeet, I'm not going to ask you to weigh in on that because that would probably put you in a precarious position. But we love having you, my friend. We'll love to get you back again very soon. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, folks. Is the continued divide between Trump and the Federal Reserve put us behind the curve, so to speak, with the Fed? Can the Fed take the right action at the right time? They don't seem to be able to. Or are we going to be looking at a potential economic slowdown because of the Fed? And what does it mean for your savings? Consider diversifying with gold through the Birch Gold Group. For decades, gold has been viewed as a safe haven in times of economic stagnation, global uncertainty, and high inflation. And Birch Gold makes it incredibly easy for you to diversify some of your savings into gold. If you have an IRA or old 401k, you can convert that into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Or this is exactly what I do. I just buy some gold coins and gold bars, and you stick them in a safe in your home or in a bank. First, get educated, though. Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. Just text the word America to the number 989898. Again, text America to 989898. Consider diversifying a portion of your savings into gold. That way, if the Fed can't stay ahead of the curve for the country, at least you can stay ahead of the curve for you and your family. All righty, folks. Something's coming. By the way, there's no politics in the edge. Nothing to do with this stuff. Watch. I started with nothing but my body and my mind, and I fought my way to the top of 4 arenas built to break men. First, pro baseball, where every pitch can end your dream. Then Wall Street, where I became one of the highest earning traders in America. Then came television, primetime lights, millions watching every night, a test. And I put it in writing. Wake Up America, followed by The Swamp, calling out corruption by name. But the edge isn't politics. It's not about fame. It's about fire. It's about proving yourself when everything is on the line. Only the strong survive it. Only the ready rise through it. This is The Edge. September, The Edge is coming.